Hello everyone. Time for a treat. This is kind of a savory delight. It's raining quite a lot outside. We had a storm warning siren going off because of the high wind conditions. What I'm going to be enjoying is licorice. So I've had a couple of experiences over the last year with red licorice, like Twizzlers and some other brands, and I've not really been too impressed, although traditionally I've been a big fan of licorice red, kind of like Pokemon Red. So anyway, I chose this one for a couple of reasons. Mainly because the first ingredient is molasses, which I thought was a little bit unusual in a candy treat, and also maybe my tastes have changed enough where I can actually enjoy this savory treat. We're going to find out, because it's time to go the way of the Lucky Country soft licorice. So let's go. Packaging notes to begin. I love this gray. It's very nice. We have had our share together, haven't we, of bright hues, pastels, fluorescence, both in the candy and in the packaging. So this is a little bit interesting. The treat, you'll notice, is not actually being featured with a see-through plastic. We have this approximation of the treats. I did already give it a little bit of a squeeze when I was in the shop to figure out just how soft this licorice was. And it does seem pretty soft, like it's going to have a nice firm texture but a nice mouthfeel. And I am very happy with this packaging. I love the tones of gray and black, and they've done a really good job, especially with the only color making its appearance is this deep, deep red, like a royal velvet red, and a stylized kangaroo. So. Aussie style. So, as I mentioned, I am going to try to explore the realm of these traditional candies that have savory characteristics, but also just making up the tapestry of classic candies, because these science fiction style treats are good, but often my body will respond better, or in more of a sense that I'm eating a food item or something that would nurture my form, when I'm eating something like those caramel creams, which is mostly just like sweet biscuit dough. So let's go. More flavor in every bite. Okay, made in the USA in the Aussie style. Lucky Country. G'day, mate. So they're selling it with some Australia facts, Australian founder, and a number of other options. Let's go. Ooh. I should have brought my ouzo for this one. Yeah, sometimes my decisions aren't the best. I'm getting a muted licorice smell, or anise. The particular flavoring agents are licorice extract and aniseed oil and molasses. And that's basically it, and a little salt. And of course, sugars, corn syrup, etc. That muted smell is a little comforting, but it's also a little bothersome, because what's apparent in the front of my nasal cavity is kind of an unpleasant carrier smell. It's buried. What aroma there is a little bit buried under something pretty sticky and heavy. I did used to have a little jar of molasses. It was well in the past, but I would take a spoonful or so when I wanted a tasty treat. And I got the blackstrap molasses with the bunny on the cover. And I remember those moments kind of fondly. I should probably reinvigorate that idea, or at least get some honey. Yeah, muted smell. And these treats are much bigger, longer than I thought they would be. This is a sizable chunk. Looks attractive though. It definitely has an industrial look. Something of a factory part. We kind of match, don't we? This treat and I. Well, it's sticky in the hand as I expected. There's a sheen of oil forming on the entire treat, but especially on, is it oil? No, it's just the form of the candy as it was sliced by the machine. It leaves a mottled sandpaper look to the bottom of the treat. It'll probably be hard to see, giving it the appearance of an oil slick. So it's exciting to me to eat a piece of candy that is black. And I suppose the only time that that's happened in my memory is when I'm enjoying licorice treats. But I was inspired by the last licorice morsel I ate, probably during some kind of a jelly bean-esque review. On the nose it's a little more apparent now, but still a disappointing swirly mix of like what smells like dirty oil is making up the most of it. So let's have a little nibble. Yeah. Oh, much softer and more yielding than I would have thought. Oh, this is going to take some evaluation. A unique mix in the texture department. It's yielding readily, but as it breaks down in my mouth, it's bouldering off the pieces. It's a very strange mix. My chops aren't having any trouble disassembling the treat, but the treat is coming apart in a most unusual way. It's sort of crumbling into what would be kind of a chewy, a moistish cookie consistency, while also having kind of some of the elements of like a chew. And the inside of the treat is far more gray. It's a striking little bit of a change because the inside is strictly a dirty gray color, making for a nice contrast. Now for some flavor notes. A little bit stickier than I would have liked on the teeth because portions of the candy are now scattered on my enamel, but a mild flavor. Any note of molasses is kind of buried, but thankfully the licorice and anise flavors are mild but also sweet. The interplay between the sweet and the mild anise is nice. I mean, texturally this one's a challenge. Although unique and interesting, it's tough to enjoy it. I'm going to let it dwell in my mouth for a moment or two and see where that takes us in terms of the flavor. Really, it's one note. Now that the treat is marinating a bit, I am kind of getting some notes of the carrier, and the molasses is coming to the front just a little bit. It smells. Hang on. Oh, I thought I was going. Oh, excuse me. I do like these natural sweetened flavors and products that are sweetened naturally. So it's a swirling, savory taste. Not overly savory or sweet, it's just sort of striking out in a strange direction. Really, I thought I would be more excited about this molasses flavor because there's a little bit of a problem with the flavors going in different directions. They're almost in accord, but there's just a little bit of a problem. The anise licorice flavor is so unruly and demands so much attention. There's a liveliness to it. And then the molasses flavor, by comparison, it wouldn't be so bad on its own, but when you have this lively top note going on, it takes on kind of a little bit more of a dull, dirty air. If they work together in a little bit of a more harmonious way, I think this would be a great success, especially for someone who is super into the flavor of anise. I, however, am not. Although I find this a little bit more pleasing to my sensibilities than I think I would have in the past. It's not something that I'll be revisiting. The company does offer some other choices, but I'm fairly confident that it would just have kind of that same, a little bit of a gloopy, crumbly texture with that molasses base. The cherry might be good though. Well, I'm going to evaluate one more piece and see how I feel about it now that I've given it some thought. And once again, I'm really happy with the concept here, and I love the appearance of these nugs. It just doesn't yield up much flavor. I kind of want to like it, but maybe if they would have tempered the unruly anise with a little bit more of a dense or intense molasses flavor, it could have, it would have been a more aggressive flavor, but it might have been a little bit more successful as they did battle in my sense array. For casual snacking though, just evaluating the texture, it's a little unpleasant. Not that I would expect this to go full gummy. Like, I think that would probably be bad. Maybe even if the ropes were the same size but had a little bit of more of a firm texture. I'm not really having a hard time with the flavor though. Like, it's seated there pretty firmly, but I'm not really forming any strong opinions about it. It's just kind of blah. For someone who liked traditional black licorice taste, though, it might be your cuppa. Well, that's been Lucky Country Aussie style soft licorice. If I could sum up this candy, I would just say kind of edging on poor, but with some inspired ideas that just were executed poorly.